Hey, what's up everybody? BDL 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so it is 2 hours, or a little less than 2 hours before we have our first knockout game between the Bucks and the Pacers. Now, I didn't do any homework on the Bucks or the Pacers before this game, so I'm just kind of winging it off of what I understand their roster to be and kind of how they've been playing for the last couple of, I'd say, games for the most part. And to be honest with you, it's going to be a tougher game for the Bucks than they think, man. It's going to be a much tougher game than they think. Pacers are playing fantastic basketball right now. Tyrese Halliburton is playing like one of the best players in basketball. His shot is falling, he's clutch, and he's more or less somebody right now that you're going to have to take extremely seriously in all game situations on both sides of the floor. He's basically a superstar emerging as we speak. You also got to take into account that they have some legitimate bigs. Miles Turner and a few other guys that you know are going to bring it. Walker, I'm not really sure if they're playing him yet, but a young rookie that we know is, although undersized, very defensive minded, very capable of boarding and very capable of getting easy buckets in the paint. Can stretch the floor some too. So, you know, you look at guys like Buddy Hield, who's having a fantastic season from behind the arc. You look at Andrew Nembhard, who's already proven himself to my Lakers, having shot us down last year at the buzzer on our home floor. You know, at Mathurin, it's another player that you have to take extremely seriously on this squad. You know, and so on and so forth. They just have a lot of talent. I think you would consider, obviously, the Bucks a better team because of Giannis and Dame. You know, and you got to look at Brook Lopez, who's continuing his stellar elder states era, I guess you can say, elder statesman era, where, like a guy like LeBron James, he's in his late 30s, still balling like an all-star. So you got to give credit to a guy like Brook Lopez. You know, Marshawn Beauchamp is a player who's been playing well. Dame is taking a liking to him, and they have good synergy on the floor from what I've been able to see from afar. So, you know, these are two very serious Eastern Conference teams, and we got to address just the overall ascension and development of the Pacers at this point, considering if they have a chance against the Bucks. I would say the Bucks are probably still going to win the game. Giannis Antetokounmpo in a winning situation, you expect for him to go crazy tonight. Dame, if the game is close, you expect him to close it out. But you cannot underestimate just how high Tyrese Halliburton's ceiling has gone. They already beat the Celtics, who are a team that you would obviously expect it would be better than them too in a one-game situation to eliminate. So if the Bucks have an off night, this could be a bad night for them. That's really what it comes down to. You want to be efficient if you're the Bucks, and if you're the Pacers, you want to get well-balanced production from everybody. Try to have like 6 or 7 players in double figures. Try to attack the Bucks where you have mismatch advantages. That's basically what I'm saying. The Bucks will have some mismatch advantages, but they're going to have to try to exploit those to the best of their ability, in my humble opinion. So for my money, I'd probably go with the Bucks, just because you have the best player on the floor is Giannis Antetokounmpo, former MVP, NBA champion, and then you slap him next to a guy like Dame Lillard. You just expect for that overall star power to be too much for the Pacers in a situation like this. That's basically what I see there. It's just going to probably be too much for them. Now, the Laker game, of course, if y'all want to check out my breakdown of what I expect from the Laker game, I've already made a video on that. You know, it's one of those situations where my team is involved, so I can't really come at you from a unbiased perspective. That's not happening really, but what I can say is the matchups are very, very interesting, especially when you consider all of the size that the New Orleans Pelicans are going to be bringing to the table tonight. You got to look at a guy like Jonas Valanciunas and another guy by the name of Zion Williamson, and you look at that Laker front court and just wonder, is Anthony Davis got enough in his back pocket to deal with Valanciunas? Is Bron going to have success against a guy like Zion Williamson if he doesn't get in foul trouble? You know, can Bron stay out of foul trouble with a guy like Zion attacking him? Will the Lakers choose to go in a different direction trying to guard Zion? And will that be a mistake if you put a guy like Vando on him and not on a guy like B.I.? And then you look over at Herb Jones and realize how well he's been playing on the offensive end, particularly in the last game where he went 8 of 13. Do you really think that's a good idea to leave him with a lesser player on him? That's the question to ask. Are you better for having him in that situation? Or are you best for more or less trying to put somebody else on him? So these are the things the Lakers are going to have to figure out. They're going to have to answer those questions. And if they are able to, I think they got a great chance of winning this basketball game, just like they would against any other team where they have experience of it. But the problem is the matchups really do seem on paper to favor the New Orleans Pelicans from a size perspective and from a shooting perspective. So as a Laker fan, I do have plenty to worry about, to be honest with you, especially if they give a healthy dose of shots to a guy like Trigger Murphy, who we know is one of the better shooters in the game. And of course, a guy by the name of Jordan Hawkins can also stretch the floor. CJ McCollum. If CJ has an off night, I really like our chances. If he's going 9 for 21, taking too many shots and missing too many of them, I feel a lot better about the Lakers than I do if he's efficient 11 for 14 or something like that. It's going to be very difficult to beat them with a healthy and efficient CJ. But he can tend to shoot his team into games and out of games, and I'm hoping he does the latter tonight. And of course, it's like I always say about the New Orleans Pelicans, if you aren't watching out for Jose Alvarado and his inbound, signature stealing inbound play, then you're not really prepared for the Pelicans. You got to be ready for that type of thing. So, all in all, I don't know if I can come at you guys from my unbiased perspective as it pertains to my pick for this game. I'm just going with my Lakers because I'm a Laker fan, and I do think that we have some strong advantages, particularly with our length, being able to overall maybe tip some balls in our direction and things of that nature. But if I weren't a Laker fan, it would be 50-50, man. I wouldn't be too confident right now either way, to be honest with you. Especially the way the Lakers shot the ball in the last game. 39% or something like that from the field. We missed so many layups, it wasn't even funny. Now, that's not like us, to be honest with you. We are a pretty good interior scoring basketball team. I think that was an anomaly. But if for some reason that carries over, I definitely don't like us in this game, especially since the Pelicans have been literally the complete opposite, shooting above 40% from the three and above 50% from the field. So, Lakers are a good defensive team, especially when everybody's there, and everybody is there, with the exception of Gabe Vincent. So I like us to be able to play some real defense tonight, despite having some real bad defensive games over the past couple of weeks. But that was without those players like Vanderbilt, and we were missing Jackson Hayes in some of those matchups. We were missing Cam Reddish in some of those matchups. Those are our better defenders. We will have them on the floor tonight with a motivated Anthony Davis going up against the Pelicans. So I like that aspect of what's going on here. But fewer teams that I can consider in the Western Conference match up as well with our length than the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm pretty sure if these aren't the two best teams with wings in the game, and I don't know what are, honestly. When you think about Herb Jones, Vanderbilt on the other end, you got AD, got Valanciunas on the other end, you got Bron, you got Zion in the other end. It just goes on. You got Rui, you got Trigger on the other end. It just goes on forever. So, both of these teams can really throw their weight around. BI, of course. We got players. So it's one of those situations where I just want my coach to use good rotations. That's my thing. And, of course, I'm speaking more about our team than I did this game than I did the Pacer game, because I really just don't know those teams that well. But I need Darvin to use good rotations, man. That's really what it comes down to. All teams need to use good rotations in a one-and-done situation, or you put the wrong players on the floor and lose a lead, or find yourself in a hole, or a little bit of both. Whatever the case may be, you don't want to be in those situations as a fan of any of these teams. One thing I want to say about the Pacers is you cannot underestimate how good of a coach Rick Carlisle is. He's already won the NBA championship with the Dallas Mavericks. He's done fantastic things everywhere he's gone. And you just got to know that a lot of what happens with the Pacers and their success has to do with him having that coach down there. And in a one-and-done situation, going up against a rookie coach in Adrian Griffin, and some new players that have only been recently put together that are major pieces like Dame Lillard on the Bucks specifically. This could be a situation where, Adrian might get out-schemed, man. And when it really comes down to it, a lot of people don't see that part coming, maybe not even myself. But I want to incorporate that possibility into this conversation. They really are running out there with a rookie coach Giannis has a lot to, and Giannis and Dame have a lot to patch up to make that make sense against a guy like Rick Carlisle, who's been in the league for years, won an NBA championship, been with the Pacers now for 2 or 3 years. I think the Pacers, I think it's arguable that the Pacers may understand each other from a unit's perspective than the Bucks do. Now, the Bucks, of course, had players that won championships together. So that's an entirely different conversation, which makes me hesitant to really be confident in saying that fully. But when you're incorporating such a big piece like Dame, who, when you bring him in, is literally becoming basically a third of your entire production, that has to be taken into account. And the Bucks bench is not all that strong, as we know. They lost some role players. They lost Grayson Allen. They lost a few other guys as well, that not come to mind. But the Bucks are not overly deep, man. They may not need to be with the healthy Dame, healthy Brook, healthy, overall Giannis, and of course the power forward whose name ain't coming to mind for whatever reason, but Bobby Portis, of course. With those guys healthy, you probably feel really good about the Bucks anyway, even though the depth ain't really where the Pacers' depth actually is. But if any foul trouble becomes a thing, this thing could swing into the Pacers' direction pretty fast. Because the Pacers are not lacking in depth at all. They can attack you from more angles, in my opinion. They just don't have that surefire superstar that's going to score over and over again, like Giannis is expected to tonight. And when you think about the NBA and what its agenda may actually be for those who believe in the script writing scenario, I don't see the Pacers winning that game off the strength of that. And it's going to be hard to see the New Orleans Pelicans winning our game off the strength of that. But I don't buy into that too much. I think this is a players' league. I don't think it really matters what team certain players are on. I think the players are what draws fans more so than the cities themselves. And so when you're considering Giannis Antetokounmpo, considering Zion Williamson, I don't think it really matters what team those guys are on. People are going to want to see them play. You consider obviously LeBron James. Conversation doesn't really make as much sense when I'm considering the fact he plays for the Lakers, but you get the point. For those who are buying into the script writing mentality, if the Lakers don't have the players, what's the point of putting the Lakers on TV? That's what it really comes down to. Yeah, they got a lot of fans. We are here regardless. But if we don't have the players, it doesn't really garner more attention than if we do. So, for example, if Giannis were on the Kings, then they probably want to see the Kings. The Bucks are a small market, and people are definitely going to want to watch Giannis. And he's only ever played for the Bucks. So it's like, for me, I don't really buy into that. As far as can a team garner attention in a small market? If they have the big players, then that's the only thing that matters in 2023. It's like the only thing. We don't care what team they're on. We're just going to want to see a conglomerate of players that are worth watching. And when it comes to Dame and of course Giannis, we'll watch them play for the Shanghai Sharks, fam. Like, it does not matter what team they're on. So I just want to put that out there. Granted, fan bases belong to, are a big part of what this is. Laker fans could watch me running around down there because we are that dedicated and it's that many of us, to where you probably still gonna want to put us on TV, but not over a team with Giannis and Dame on the same squad. I doubt it. Not if we didn't have the players. I doubt that very seriously. So that's really what it comes down to, in my opinion. The Lakers are just a team that is going to garner a lot of attention regardless. But I don't know. I really don't know if it really comes down to it, what you expected a team that doesn't have the players but does have the market to actually do when they consider people want to see players at the end of the day. And I was hearing the argument that the New York Knicks would have been a better draw than the Bucks. Not in 2023. Nah. The fact that they play for New York, it doesn't matter if the game ain't in New York. You know what I mean? That's another thing. The game's in Vegas, so it's all about the players. Literally only about the players. And so fan bases are going to watch players on other teams that they like too. It's just because I'm a Laker fan does not mean I don't want to see Giannis go up against Kevin Durant. Like, I'm totally want to see that. So, that's just the era we're in right now. I just think fan bases are in place and we love our teams and we're stuck to our teams But casual fans don't care nothing about teams at all. They care about players. And so if you got those players, they'll watch your team. That's my opinion. So with that being said, I think the only team that's really in trouble in regards to a script would probably be the Pacers. They're the only team that doesn't have the players, because the Pelicans got Zion. And even though a lot of people don't necessarily know of Zion as it pertains to him being a superstar that we've seen in the NBA, he had such star power going into the draft and has done such spectacular plays. It's one of those things where you're going to want to watch him play anyway, regardless. You're going to want to watch him play. And Brandon Ingram's a guy who's growing on people, I believe. I don't think he's a superstar, but he's made an all-star team. He's done some big things. He's an exciting player. Once you start watching him, you're glad you're seeing him, that kind of thing. I think the same about Tyrese Halliburton as well. Nobody knows who Tyrese is, but that's going to change. That's going to change. And I don't think he needs to leave Indy for that to change. He just needs to keep playing the way he's playing and have more games like this. And then on the other hand, the higher, not the higher, TNTs and the ABCs need to come around to understand what I just been describing for the last 5 minutes. We want to see the players. So don't put on the Knicks versus team that doesn't have players. I don't know who it would be. But the Knicks don't have no stars on the team. No disrespect to them, but Jalen Brunson and Juju aren't stars like that. Don't put them on versus the Wizards, although you never would. But you get the point. That's not going to garner any attention in comparison to you putting on Luka the Don versus, you know, LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? It's like certain things we're just going to want to watch, and it's up to these providers to acknowledge that and start giving us the games that we want, period. Literally that. And so, me personally, I would love to see more Tyrese Halliburton, especially if he's able to get one more star on his team with him. If he can get that big-time running mate, Pacers are going to be not only a contender, but somebody you want to see on ABC on a Sunday afternoon. We watched Reggie Miller and his Pacers. You know, that's another thing. It's like teams have fluctuated to where we've seen a lot of teams succeed. And I think they're dropping the ball with a guy like LaMelo Ball, for example, who's extremely exciting, extremely charismatic, and is a player that has star power. I think they're caught up in the wrong way of looking at it as it pertains to he plays for Charlotte, so nobody wants to watch it. We'll watch it because of him. And he'll make Charlotte what it's going to be, but y'all won't put Charlotte on TV. And they don't win, so it doesn't really help them that they're not a winning basketball team. But, you know, for a player with star power, like he doesn't lack star power. Let's just be honest. He don't lack star power. I would say he's a bigger star than Brandon Ingram. You know what I mean? Just being honest. Like, LaMelo doesn't lack star power. If he played for the Lakers, he'd be starting every All-Star game every year off the strength of him being voted in. So it's like, these are the type of things. It's like, I don't think the NBA really gets that. Not fully. Not fully. And maybe the numbers don't necessarily represent that. I could totally be wrong. But I just don't think that anybody gives a damn what uniform these players are wearing, so long as they're the players we want to see. So that's what I think. I really believe that. And I think it's been that way for a couple of years now. We watch LeBron on the Cavs. Like, the Cavs? Nobody want to see the Cavs. You know what I mean? But if you put nobody on the Lakers, nobody wants to see the Lakers either, except for the fan base. Which is huge. But not huge enough to watch Robert Sacre and Smush Parker without Kobe down there. You know what I'm saying? Not at all. So even I didn't want to watch that, to be honest with you. I missed games left and right back in that era. Just being real. So, like, y'all got to understand that aspect of it. Even fan bases have a threshold for the garbage they will watch. And that's why the video I was making earlier today was so relevant, because I'm talking about the Detroit Pistons earlier today and how bad they look and how frustrated their fan base is. Wizards, and year in, year out of them not being very good. Just certain times you look up and you realize fan bases need to be motivated to be invested. They may like their team, but they'll like them from afar. Meaning they ain't watching unless Kobe coming to town, Bron coming to town. You know what I'm saying? That's the only time they're going to want to watch their team. Hit me when they're good. Until then, I'll just say I'm a Hawks fan and not really watch. And so that's really a thing that teams have to understand. Getting that star power player is important, and keeping him in a winning situation is equally important. So yeah, that's what I got to say. I think this in-season tournament has gone a long way in helping, because it makes for more competitive ball. We'll see how it looks after the tournament, if that competitiveness will carry over into later aspects of the season, or will we see more garbage because there's no tournament boost for these guys to rally around, as to where usually you see more or less quote-unquote garbage in March. My concern is that you're going to see garbage in January, February, and March because of the drag from the in-season tournament being over, All-Star break, and the drag that comes after and before that sometimes, and then the drag that comes from waiting for the playoffs when a lot of teams are load managing to stay healthy for the playoffs. I just wonder if the extension of bringing in that tournament will make it so that there's so much emphasis on the tournament that guys will ultimately start to show that they're not interested, more so in the regular season than maybe they were at any other point, because it's playoff-like atmosphere, blah, playoffs is essentially what we're getting with this new dynamic. And so I just wonder how that's going to be for the teams, for the players psychologically. I have my doubts about how much competitive basketball we're going to see after all outside of the playoffs and the tournament. But only time will tell. I'm sure the NBA is thinking of that as well. So yeah, that's the thought. We got to definitely put ourselves in a position to enjoy these tournament games, because the tournament will be over after this upcoming Saturday, where the championship will be coming up. The NBA Cup, the first ever NBA Cup. I don't really love that trophy, by the way. I don't actually think it's a very good looking trophy. Larry O'Brien looks great, the NBA Cup. Nah, but we won it nevertheless. Laker fans, we definitely want to have that accredited to our name as the winningest franchise ever, tied with the Celtics, but we've won more games than them. And we've won more championships sooner, since, I guess is what you can say. And, you know, it's one of those situations where LeBron James, obviously we want him to get that trophy. You know, we don't know how many more cups he's going to play for. I don't know how healthy he'll be next year when the tournament comes around, that kind of thing. He needs to be able to seize this right now. So hopefully, for our sake and for his sake as a player, we'll play our best ball tonight and take care of the Pelicans, a team that, although we have a better record than, on paper we may not necessarily be favored to beat when both teams are fully healthy. So I think it's a good chance the Lakers may try to tweak the team depending on how they look tonight. I think this could be a determining factor. If you don't win this game, if you get blown out in a knockout game against the Pelicans, you may think of yourself as a team fully healthy that probably can't do as much in the playoffs as what you're expected to want to do. So I do think that tonight could be a real determining factor. Depending on how this team comes out and who plays well, who doesn't show up, that kind of thing, it may determine the overall belief in the expectancy of what this team could actually be. I know it's a one-and-done situation. You can't really take much from one game. But if the matchups are just so glaring that the Lakers are getting stomped out by a guy like Valanciunas and Zion Williamson, size will be needed to be addressed on this team. Length is one thing, but girth and weight need to be accounted for, and that, my friends, is my concern as a Laker fan. Do we have enough of that? What we're needed against a team like the Pelicans, against a team like Denver, you know, against a team like Philadelphia, where big guys are the focal point. And so that's my concern. I think when it comes down to it, the Pelicans, if they're healthy, they have that on a lot of teams. When you're talking about Zion Williamson and Jonas Valanciunas, both of those guys are all-star level players who are about 300 pounds apiece. That is not something to take lightly in a one-game situation, and I think it's even less in your best interest to take them lightly in a 7-game situation, because they're going to wear your bigs down. That's just understood, man. You could see that just from the size of them dudes. They're going to wear you down. And so that is my overall assessment of what it is the Lakers and any other team going up against the Pelicans when those two are healthy is really about, man. You cannot take them lightly. They got shooters, Hawkins and Trigger, Young. So this team is going to be good for a long time, man. A very long time. So that's my thing. That's my concern with this particular matchup tonight for my Lakers. I just don't think we're really heavy enough, and I don't think we got enough pure shooters to really see them if those pure shooters are having career nights. Absolutely not. I don't see it. So that's going to be the concern. Can we do enough for ourselves with those shooters? Can we do enough for ourselves with those big guys? And if the answer is yes, then I think we'll be in okay shape. But we can't be missing layups, LA. That's the bottom line. We've done some bad interior shooting in that last game, even though the defense made up for it. Taking care of the basketball made up for it. When you only have 10 turnovers, you feel great about that. Can we duplicate that against good defensive players? Is also a question I have for my Lakers tonight. Phoenix doesn't really play defense like the Pelicans are expected to. So they're going to probably force more turnovers. Can we offensive rebound to offset that? Can we keep them from rebounding on the offensive end? Defensive rebounding for us to offset that. A lot of that takes you back to the bigs and what you expect them to do. It takes you back to, what's his name? Herb Jones, and what you expect him to do on the boards. Trigger Murphy can rebound the ball. So these are things that we're going to have to address tonight in a one-game situation. And that's why I was very, very intent on telling you guys that I want Darvin to take the cuffs off of Rui and take the cuffs off of Vando, take the cuffs off of Cam Reddish. These are our best defensive players next to AD. We're going to need those guys to be on the floor a lot against Herb, B.I., and all those guys that they got. Valanciunas, obviously Zion. The matchups aren't necessarily in the Lakers' favor. I'd be lying if I said I thought they were. So that's pretty much what I got to say, man. Hope everybody enjoys the games. Got about an hour left before the Pacers and Bucks game starts. So I'm going to try to take care of what I got to take care of. Get home, try to watch that. My name is BDF44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.